I'm Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So, here's to empowerment, here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go. And here we go, and I am so absolutely excited about today's show. Despite all the things that are happening out there that we cannot control, and for many of us, that's the new feeling, which is you can't control what's happening around you in your environment. So some of you are feeling a little bit anxious, some of you may be frustrated, some of you may be going through levels of anxiety, but what I'm going to be talking about today and on my following segment should be empowering to you if you'll take the time and listen. And since I think everybody's home, this is a good opportunity to dial up and dial in and see what you can glean from what I'm going to share with you on today's show. I'm going to be talking about for the next hour, and I could talk about this for a lot longer than an hour, but I'm going to talk to you about it for an hour and hope that you will take notes, make comments, and you can always shoot an email to me at mygraves@gmail. You can also go to my website at michellegravesonline.com. You can go to either of those venues to follow up, to ask questions, and if I can help you, I'll be more than happy to do so. So again, if you need to find out what makes my world, you can go to my website, michellegravesonline.com, where you will see who the money lady is in terms of the public perspective. You can call me on my 800 number, 800-734-3915. If you have questions regarding anything that I have shared with you over the years, and even today's particular broadcast. And finally, you can email me at mygraves@gmail.com. So those are three venues that are available to all of you that are my viewers and my faithful viewers. This Power of Money program has been on DATV for well over 7 years. Faithfully, consistently, I've driven to Dayton, Ohio to have this show produced by a phenomenal producer, Ben Artist, and he's just stellar. I'm not going anywhere. It's worth the drive to me to be able to have a high level of professionalism that competes side by side with commercial broadcasting. The set is beautiful, the attentiveness, all those things that make a show so special are here. So I'm grateful, and for those of you that are watching me in other parts of the country, again, I thank you for being a part of my world, and hopefully you will embrace so many of the things that we have discussed over the many years I've been on the air. Again, just a little bit of background to help you as I move forward on today's broadcast. The subject I'm going to talk about today is 10 things money cannot buy. Now, I know you're saying to yourself, excuse me, and I'm telling you today that I'm going to be talking about the 10 things that money cannot buy. And in my second show, I'm going to be talking about what money can buy. But this is a good thing to talk, given what's going on out here in the world with this virus and all of the wars and all of the disagreements and just generally bad behavior by many people. It's come to this. Now that there's a press where we're being challenged to show the best of who we are, we get to see live and in living color the worst. I can tell you myself, I went to the grocery store to pick up a few items for my parents. They're elderly, and I attend to them out of love. And I went in, unbeknownst to me, I don't know why, but I did, and it was pandemonium in the store. People were bumping, fighting, expletive deletes, just generally bad behavior. Don't make eye contact, because that was going to be a disagreement or a grunt or something that was just like, are you kidding me? All of this behavior over food in a country that is overwhelmingly plentiful with food. In fact, statistically, 45% of Americans are obese, so that is not an issue with food. You eat too much anyway. Yeah, I said it. Yeah. So now you're going to fight about food. And you're going to fight about personal items and toilet paper and meat. But you know where there was no fight? And this is what I found to be so interesting. At the grocery store. Nobody was fighting about apples, oranges, perishables, lettuce, all kinds of bananas, pistachio. Nobody was even over there. Nobody. But meat, processed food, quickie wickies, toilet items, it was mass confusion. And so what it told me is that despite what we're dealing with now, at this point in our country's history and global history, excuse me, I might add, people are still struggling with kindness. Under stress, they are behaving out, meaning what's in is now out. And this is going to be a real challenge in the days ahead, because I do believe there's tremendous opportunity for us to bind again. We talk about America being great. Well, one of the things that made us great was our willingness to be kind and to be helpful and to be thoughtful. And so here we are looking at this. And I'm just very saddened. But the show's not about Michelle being saddened about human behavior in America. It's about 10 things money cannot buy. And let me just share with you, before you say to yourself and to me, maybe under your breath, money can buy everything. I'm here to tell you that the most powerful things available to us as humans, money cannot buy. So I've got 10 things, and I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to challenge you to think about it and to think where you fit in this whole conversation that I'm having right now. Number one, money cannot buy manners. Have you ever been around an individual or a family or a gathering where people do not adhere to some sort of protocol with regard to kindness and etiquette? Have you seen situations where people just do unthinkable things? And I say unthinkable to me because when you got bad manners, poor manners, it reflects on how your mother raised you, how your family evolved. And I fully understand in today's world, a lot of people were not trained as children to be mannerable. For example, with my grandson, who I love, he's 6 years old. He opens the car door. Why? For women to get out. Why? because we trained him to do that. That always be especially gentle and thoughtful to females. Why? Because we are the weaker, physically weaker of the two. And therefore, thoughtfulness and kindness should be extended to us in forms such as opening the car door, opening any door that a woman is wanting to enter. You make it there first. You get there first and make sure she comes in. If it's raining, you make it absolutely clear that she's not to get her hair wet or her body wet. So you need to have an umbrella. And yes, you can go under it with her, but under no circumstances do you have her out here alone, getting rained on. Now, before you start screaming, I can hear some of you males with this drum roll. Brrr. Liberation is not all that. There are gentlemanly courtesies that women of all ages and all political, social, economic persuasions appreciate. Unless she tells you not to open the door, open the door. As I complimented one gentleman who opened the door for me going into a store, he did it in front of his sons, but he did it. They went in and I was behind them, and he stood and let me go in as well. And I thanked him, and I said to him, it is comforting to know that chivalry is not dead. And I want to thank you because I really do appreciate you doing that, because that door is heavy. To try to pull it open is heavy. Some old lady probably at this point in life, raised her son well. And he said to me in response, thank you. And he said, that's the way I was brought up. And I thanked him again. And I looked at his sons, looking at their dad, and I was confident that they saw a mannerable gentleman in motion, and they will replicate the behavior, because children do nothing but absorb environment, starting with their family, and boys especially follow their father's lead. That's called manners. Money cannot buy manners. You cannot say, if you are a person that is kind to people, you cannot say what's on your mind. You will be constrained from saying things that are mean and cruel, because you'll understand that once you open up your mouth and say that thing, you can't retract it. It's now out there in the air. And if it's directed at a person, it can be very, very hurtful. It has nothing to do with whether what you're saying is the truth, or I just had to let them have it. Well, you know what? The level of undiscipline, the absence of order in your life is going to come back to haunt you, because what you send out will boomerang. And as humans, we must be ever so sensitive to the fact that all of us, no exceptions globally, I've been all over this world, no exceptions globally, people basically want to live happy and fulfilling lives with their families or tribes or whatever their form of community is all over the world, but they want to have peace of mind. They want to be able to get along. They want to have enough food for their families. I didn't say individual, families. And they want to have a level of respect extended to them. Whether we perceive it or not, this is a human need. People need to be honored and respected. And if that doesn't happen, because you have not been well trained on manners, then you are the loser. You are the loser. I'm currently working on spring projects, and believe it or not, despite what's going on, I have a large plot of land that I grow my vegetables on. Yeah, I'm from Kentucky, and I grow stuff, flowers, plants, and vegetables, cabbages, tomatoes, zucchini, watermelon. I grow that. Why? Because it's healthier, and also because it's a stress reliever. You dig enough holes and you won't be mad at anybody. You won't be mad at anybody. Trust me when I say this. So, in the particular cooperative I'm a part of, are many, many people who have come from different parts of the world. Guatemala, Chile, Ukraine, because everybody all over the world grows things. We're the only people that run to the grocery and buy things, not knowing where they came from. And if you think I'm kidding, ask your child when you pull up a tomato or you make a salad, ask them where did it come from. And you'll be amazed that so many children don't even know that a tomato comes out of dirt, the soil. So that's but my point being is that I'm in a community of diversity where we have all kinds of people working their gardens. And one thing about gardeners is that we like to share, we like to talk, and we like to work. And I will also tell you that people from other countries are much more adept and adroit at growing things because that's how they live. They all have gardens and plots and they grow things. So for me, since I may be an American by birth, but I'm not the smartest pea in the pod, I look to them for help. And so graciousness and kindness are wonderful attributes if you're needing people to help you so that your food will be great. It works out wonderfully. It really does, and it's always given me a level of excitement, as well as seniors, because a lot of people that work in the garden are also elderly people who are growing things because that's how they were raised, and also because it's a form of inexpensive food for them to do that. These plots are all donated to us by the Catholic order in the area that I live in, and we pay a yearly fee to get our large plot of $25, and it's so worth it. It's so worth it just for the community. But back to manners. If I were a jerk, trying to garden would be really tough. Okay? So I'm very conscious of respect. I don't care how they look in terms of their appearance. The fact is that I'm not looking on the outside, I'm looking on the inside, and I recognize that respect and honor for that person are very human characteristics. So that's the first thing money cannot buy, manners. And I hope you've enjoyed this discussion because it's real life, real time. I'm trying to help you in the days ahead because when things start getting tight with you, you may need to look to other people to help you, whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it's in your church or community, or so. You may need other people to help you through a situation. And if you're not a person who has shown yourself to be mannerable, then I don't think you're going to get a lot of help. And so that's going to be kind of like a wake-up call for many people. I don't care who you are. Nobody likes being around people that are mean, that are negative, and that are toxic. And you're getting ready to find out with this crisis we're under, because we are going to have to come together, close our ranks, and begin to deal with each other, families and communities. And you will not get the level of support you want and need. And it's deeper than the neighborhood. You may find that your dog doesn't like you either. How you like that? The dog doesn't like you. And now you're there all the time and their dog's like, wait a minute, do I have to run away? So that's number one. Number two, morals. What are morals? Well, there are a number of different types of morals and morality. But essentially, it's kind of like a fence that a society puts to tell you, don't cross that fence. It's dangerous on the other side. The primary moral guide that we have historically in America used to help us was the Holy Bible. Most older Americans have no experience other than reading about it in the paper about atheism and other religious cultures. We are essentially a Hebraic culture coming out of the Jewish belief systems, as in the Torah, and it essentially sets the boundaries that everybody abides by. Because you know what? It's a funny thing how we can all be subjective, situational, and interpretive, which is, this is my situation, and this is how I do. Well, the Most Holy Bible establishes those boundaries that all human beings abide by in terms of setting what is expected of us in the terms of behavior and morals, which is right and wrong. Right and wrong. It's not ambivalent as we have evolved today, where we now have situational morals, which is, well, it may not be right, but I'm okay with it. Or, I did that, but you need to get over it because I did that. Oh, if I don't long for the days where people had morals as a nation, where I knew that the commonality of our belief system founded on the Most Holy Bible, and I'm not getting onto a religious bandwagon because it doesn't matter to me whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Zen, Jewish, none of that matters as long as you're not an atheist. And then there's some atheists that are highly moral. They just don't believe in God. We're just highly immoral. But, and that's my opinion, so don't call me going off about what I just said, because I really did mean it. But whatever your belief persuasions, most religions globally have foundational truths, and that's where the commonality is. That it is unacceptable to kill people. It's unacceptable to hurt people. It's unacceptable to steal from people. It's unacceptable to tell lies on your neighbor. It's unacceptable to abuse people and animals. All these are foundational truths in all of these religions. And why do I know? Because I actually took the time in my younger years to read all these different philosophies, not to create a basis for controversy, but to create an understanding so that I would know where that other person's framework was in moving forward. What I found consistently, and I am a devout Christian, don't get me stuck here, but what I found was that there is a commonality in terms of morality. And the expectation is that husbands and wives are to take care of their children, and they're not to abuse their children, and they're supposed to provide for their families, and they're supposed to love God and love each other. And all this bickering and all this fighting. And can you imagine sex trafficking 100 years ago as being okay? Excuse me. What? I don't think so. I long for the days, but I don't believe they're coming back, where people had boundaries and the community determined if you crossed over. And if you did cross over, it was going to be a bad outcome. It's going to be a bad outcome, period. Bad outcome. Is that to say that people did bad things? Well, people have always done bad things. But the norm, the standard, the expectation was that you toe the line. You follow the rules. Maybe a lot of the disconnect we're experiencing today is because we don't have a commonality of foundation. And it's all interpretive. Okay? If a female shows all of her body parts and it creates problems, that's okay. That's okay. Is it? Is it okay when you know that other people can have problems with your behavior? Well, that's their problem. Is it? Is it? Under the old societal norms, that would have created a problem. It would have. Whether in a church, in a gathering, again, morals say, no, don't think so. No, shouldn't do that. No. And that was the end of it. So money cannot buy morals. If it was, I spend every dime of my money to try to get people to honor those boundaries and to not think that it's subjective, or as millennials say, don't judge me. Like, how am I going to judge you? You're doing it yourself. You're putting yourself in harm's way because you don't know the mind of other people and what's going through their minds. And you really only know and barely know your own mind. Okay, that's one of the fallacies and the flaws of being a human being. We get to it over time. It's not instantaneous, and sometimes we don't get to it at all. The third thing money cannot buy, and I touched on this with manners, is respect. Respect, which is, it has nothing to do with how much money you have, what your achievements are, the quality of your life. The fact that you are alive and on earth intuitively requires a level of respect be given to you by everyone, starting with yourself. The Staples singers many years ago when I was growing up had a very, very popular song that said, respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, ain't nobody else gonna give a hoot. That's basically what they said. So it starts with respecting yourself. And the respect that is inside of you, that comes out of you, by the way, if you do not respect yourself, it's going to be evident to everyone around you. This is one of the tragedies of homelessness, is because it kills the soul and it destroys hope, and that plays out in the arena of respect. They dress like they just can't do better, won't do better, may not be able to do better, but at a core level is the absence of self-respect. They have become patterned to not care about themselves. And therefore, it's very hard for them to care about others. Why? Because it starts with you. When you can respect yourself and the magnificent, magnificent creature you are by God's hands, not your own, then you can look at the world and other people with a view of respecting them. Not because they have a great job or money or children, but because we are all a part of the human race. And we all need to have respect for the person just being there, just being alive and on this earth. And while we may not agree, and I say this subjectively from my own perspective, I don't have to agree with everything you say, nor do I have to like it. But the human that I am requires me to respect you, irregardless of your opinions. Do I like people that are racist, xenophobic, all of those things? I don't like that type of behavior. I find it to be limiting, because the minute you start putting limitations, your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, because there are more people that are like that than like you. So the minute you block them out, the minute your brain starts shrinking. But it doesn't matter to me whether you're a racist or any of the above. I will still respect you, and I will respect you as a human being having feelings, having thoughts. They may be flawed from my perspective, but you still have the right to exist. You still have the right to live a life that you choose, and I still have a requirement to respect you. Money cannot buy respect. That's the truth. Moving on, and this is a big one. Money cannot buy character. You know what character is? Character defines who you are. It's your inner man. It defines and shapes and molds the person that you are or are in the process of becoming. People that have bad character, all you have to do is listen to them. Just slow down and listen to them. Don't argue, don't dispute, just listen to them. Their bad character will come forth. You'll say, geez, ooh, wow, yuck. Yuck to you may be okay with them, but bad character shows itself time and time and again. If you think I'm kidding, look at reality TV. Reality TV on every level is an example of people, in my opinion, that have very bad character. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they play games, they laugh at people that don't look like them, they laugh at people with disabilities, they laugh at people that haven't made a success out of life. They haven't even walked in that person's shoes. They don't know what that person is going through on a daily basis. But their communication tells their absence of character. And as a word to those of you that are listening, you need to stay away from those kind of people. Period. Because it is a truth that birds of the feather flock together. I would not ever want to have that kind of person in my space. They have the right to do whatever, but I don't want them around me, because I am very much aware that, having come out of a background where people were very poor of all colors, that character will tell everything. And I'll always do business with a person who has exemplary character and maybe not enough money, but I know full well that they'll get through over the long term than the person who has no character, is a liar, a cheater, just a plain old miserable person. And you know what I want to know, what I'd love to ask is, how did you get like this? What happened to you as a child, since most behaviors are formed and settled before the age of 10? What happened for you to do like this? What did you see in your work, your environment, your family, your social connections, your community? What did you see growing up that caused you to conclude that the only way to get through life was by being a really mean person with low character? Your mother not like you, give preferential to your siblings, you weren't physically attracted. What happened? That's always been my query. How did you wind up like this? But money can't buy character. I wish it could. It is unacceptable to me to live around people that are liars. They lie and not think about it. And they lie without apology. They just do it because they can. But I'm here to tell you again, karma, oh yeah, you've heard about karma. Karma, which is, the Bible says, what you reap, you will sow. That's karma. Only what God did not say is you're going to sow a whole lot more than reap a whole lot more than you sowed. So if you're a person of poor character and all your seeds are rotten, well, when it's sprout time, nothing's going to happen. You will not prosper. You may prosper in the short term, but those lies, the manipulation, the brutal and brute behavior will come back to haunt you in spades. It may come from your children, being brokenhearted about what your children turned out to be. And as I've shared over the years, well, those are your children. You're responsible for ensuring that they can navigate through life. That's your responsibility as a responsible parent. And so if you teach them values that are not honorable, you may find yourself dependent upon them and not getting much. As a sidebar, I say this to many older people because they cry, not all, just some of my encounters, they cry because their son or daughter does not give them the time of day. And they're in a facility or they're at home. And when you get older, you get lonely. You want to be surrounded by your family. And to find that they have children that don't care, don't visit. And in fact, and it is a fact, in nursing homes, the number of people that visit them is so minuscule that it's shameful. But why did it come to this? And I share with many of them, did you train them? Did you pour into them? I'm not talking about from the public side, from your perspective. Were you so knee-deep in your own behaviors that you didn't put in time with them, and therefore, when this thing comes back, they don't have time for you? That's food for thought for those of you that haven't figured it out yet. Character is everything, and money cannot buy it. Number 5, boy, do we need this today. Common sense. Common sense. Doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, brown, yellow, Caucasian, doesn't matter. Do you have common sense? Which is where I come from, mother wit. Can you look at a situation and intuitively know that's not going to work for me? It's not going to do good for my family. Common sense will get you through life. Intellect with the absence of common sense is a waste. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have if you don't know how to navigate through the world. That's very important today. You've got to know how to be prepared. That's common sense. To be prepared. It's common sense. There is a booklet that I ordered, in 2008, online, before things were nearly as sophisticated today, that basically talked about preparing for hard days. And I ordered it back then, and I kind of put it away, and then I pulled it up maybe 6 months ago, and actually started reading it. And the focus of this booklet was preparedness. Always be prepared. I'm a Girl Scout. Went as high as a mariner, which is my core training was in navigating yachts and boats and knots. I love knots. In the Midwest with not an ocean in sight, I became a Girl Scout mariner, which is the highest level. It competes neck to neck with the Eagles on the boys' side. But my point is that as a Girl Scout and also as a Boy Scout, you're taught constantly, be prepared. Be prepared. Take care of yourself. Make sure you have everything you need to navigate hard times. They drop us into the woods, and we'd have to survive in the woods and try to eat stuff and make fires and all of that stuff, which incidentally, I am so grateful to my troop leaders for having done this, because I can tell you today, and I don't say it arrogantly, but if you drop me in the woods, I'm going to be just fine. As long as there's things growing, I can make my way. I really can. I can make my way. That's common sense. You do not want to be in situations with people that don't have a clue. I mean, all this pontification about what they've read. That's fine. I'll go with you on that. But common sense is what are you doing to make sure that you can get from point A to point B? For example, common sense would tell you, why are you buying a house that you can't afford? Common sense would say, why don't you live below your means? Not at your means, below your means. If you can find a good situation that you can take advantage of, common sense would say to do it. Common sense would say, why are you buying a new car and having another debt when you don't have any money in the bank? When you don't have any savings or cushion? When you are out here, okay? Common sense will help you achieve balance and keep you from blowing yourself up. I wonder if our country is suffering from an absence of common sense, because there is no way I can justify the level of debt that working people have out here. We're not rich, so why do you want to act like somebody you're not? In fact, if you knew the parameters for rich, you'd know I'm not rich, so why am I faking it? Why don't I just live comfortably within my means, love my family, love God, love my wife or whomever, and be okay with that? That's common sense. That's common sense. Anything outside of that is wacko and wacky. And before you say to me, but I want a car, that's not common sense. Common sense would say, do I need a car? Is it in my budget? Can I make all the ancillary commitments as far as car insurance, deferred maintenance on the car because the car is going to have to be taken care of? And can I afford it in the years to come? Can I pay it off quick and fast? Can I buy it at a deep discount, cash, which is the preferred way to go? Just blow up the market and you got your money saved, you've been diligent, now you go out and buy a deep discounted car. Because the truth of the matter is, a car is nothing but a moving vehicle with four wheels. That's it. That's all. And why get yourself tied up with a car that is owned by the bank? Let me help you here. Insight. It's not yours till it's paid for. That's a car. That's any kind of an installment contract. That's a house. The house is not your house until the mortgage, that's what you owe the bank, is paid off. The bank puts a lien on the house, which means it's mine till they pay it off. Then they release the lien and it is yours. But aha, if you don't pay your real estate taxes, guess who the property belongs to? The county. Aha. If you get messed up with IRS, guess who the house belongs to? So just use common sense, okay? Just use a little bit of common sense. Money cannot buy that. But life, if you're watching and listening, life will teach you boots on the ground for yourself, looking at other people struggling on the side. You will master common sense by the time you get old. It's just funny. That's why old people, elderly people, are pretty matter of fact about everything. They just don't go through much of it because life has taught them the power of common sense. Can't buy that. Number 6, we're moving right along. Trust. Money can't buy trust. Have you ever had somebody stick a knife in your back? Do you know what betrayal feels like? Do you know what happens when you embrace systems, thoughts, people to your heart and you believe that as truth and you find out that it's a lie, that the person has lied to you, whether it's husbands and wives, whether it's sisters and brothers, whether it's your job, whether it's your church, whether it's your synagogue, social involvement, engagement, but somebody told you a lie. Trust is broken, and very rarely will it come back. Because in the back of your mind, you're saying, I don't really trust them. Same thing for systems. We were raised in a country where we said our Pledge of Allegiance, I did, in school. We trusted God. We honored our country, which we trusted. And we trusted that only the best would happen. And lo and behold, here comes the Vietnam War. Remember? Do you remember when what we thought was not what happened? And we began to wonder, as Aretha Franklin said, who's zooming who? Like, what is going on here? And then we had the opportunity to see the military shoot our children with Kent State in the day. We had the government monitoring us. So we began to develop a distrust for systems and whether they were looking out for our best interests. This did not just start. There's a long history of why people begin to scratch their heads and wonder, what is happening here? And why is it happening now? So we are now in a time in history where our distrust of systems has poured over into our distrust of each other. And you know why we distrust each other? Because we don't trust ourselves. We don't have the level of confidence to take the hits, as I say. If you know it's going to work out okay, you don't mind taking a few hits. But if you think you're on a downward slide, it can be a problem. So if money could buy trust today, I'd pull up to the Fort Knox premises, tell them load it up, and I would try to buy me some trust. Because I'm no different from you. I don't know who to believe anymore. It all sounds good, but because of our history of broken promises, I mean, this is why divorce is rampant. Broken covenants, broken promises. So you don't trust your spouse to do what he or she has promised. And it leads to very bad outcomes. It does. So divorce is rampant in America because people are like, I don't trust him. How do I know he's going to do me right? He says, I don't know if she's going to do me right. She doesn't adhere to what we've discussed. She violates my trust. Trust is a hard thing to get back once broken. And that's why I pray for this country, because we have got to get back some trust here. We've got to be okay with each other as long as we don't hurt each other physically. We should be able to cross the barrier and say, you know what? I need you right now. You need me. And we're just going to have to lay down the weaponry and we're going to have to trust each other. And as we move into the step of confidence, we will find that trust will restore. I didn't say it happens overnight. Usually, painful episodes historically have brought people together. Wars have brought people together. Common goals have brought people together. And now we're looking at a common enemy, which is the coronavirus epidemic, pandemic. It's global. And it's going to require us to reconnect and to trust each other for the best. For real. It's going to take us down a road that we cannot even speak on. The seventh thing money cannot buy is patience. Man, do I wish I could buy patience for myself. I really do. And you know what? It's tough because you want it right now. And if you're in a country where instant gratification is the modus operandi, which means that's how they do business. And that's how we do in America. I want it right now. Give me my hamburger. Give me my I want it right now. 10 minutes late, I'm frustrated with you. Until it's you that's 10 minutes late. Then I need you to be patient. Patience is an attribute that develops from things that don't go your way. A lot. And they eventually work out, one way or the other. But through the process, you really do learn to develop patience, which is, I'm trusting God that this will work out. There are 3 more areas. I'm going to go quickly, time's wrapping up. Money cannot buy class. Class, that means that's certain something that says they got it going on. Money cannot buy class. You ever been around a person who is carrying a Louis Vuitton bag that's $1,000 and they're wearing Walmart shoes? That's very not class. Just an example. In fact, the brand Louis Vuitton has come up under so much attack because it was always designed for the very wealthy woman, and it was consistent with her attire. But like everything else, people want what they want, even if it creates chaos in their lives, because that's a lot for a bag. It really is, if you don't have the money to subsidize it. It just isn't. Integrity. Money cannot buy integrity, which is I mean what I say and I say what I mean, and I am committed to doing what is right no matter what the cost. Boy, do we need that today. People that have some integrity. I like to feel that I'm a person of integrity. I've been pretty consistent over the years I've been in this industry. I've handled a lot of money. I don't steal anybody's money. Why? Because it's not mine. Duh. Okay. You don't rip people off. You know, you're not a lizard. And finally, and concluding today, money cannot buy love. That's genuine, unconditional love. I'm going to love you anyway. Why? Because he loved me, and I am required to love you. Because when he loved me, he loved you as well. So I'll end on today's segment of The Power of Money, 10 things money cannot buy. And I will also say this as a caveat. All the things I've listed are essentially spiritual attributes. They have nothing to do with the business world, and don't get it twisted. I would that the business world could operate under these items, but I'm not banking on it. We'll talk about that on the next segment of The Power of Money. In the meantime, thank you so much for being a part of my world. And tell your friends, reach out to me. Again, michellegravesonline.com, 800-734-3915. Or you can always email me if you have something to say or you need some help. I thank you so much for being a part of my world, and I look forward to the next segment of The Power of Money, where we're going to talk about what money can buy. Thank you so much. You take care. Goodbye. Okay, let me change my clothes.